Dawn shivers over the savannah like a blade drawn from a sheath, and the people are already moving. Bare heels drum a low thunder over pressed earth shoulders roped with muscle eyes, narrow and alert beneath prominent brows. They fan outward from a crescent of stacked stone, an embankment they raised season by season with lifted blocks and tamped clay. A bulwark against flood, a wall against teeth. In the basin below, trenches gleam with last night's rain, guiding water toward a shallow field where wild tubers fatten. Smoke ghosts upward from a guarded ember heap. A matriarch tests the wind, then lifts her palm. Hunt begins. 15 heartbeats of hook. If hands learned to build before minds learned to fear, what would the first city be? If stone rose in rings before language found names, how far could a fire travel down the generations? If order took root in a world of claws, who would dare to uproot it? The hunt lane tightens between acacia shadows, and grass whisper. A leading male, scar-latticed and steady palms, a flake of chert, sharp enough to kiss blood from a reed. Another carries a hafted point bound with sinew and resin. A third wears a sling of woven bark strips cradling gathered seeds, proof that patience can feed where speed fails. They move as one organism, start, pause, listen. Start split circle herding a skittish hartebeest toward a shallow gully whose edges have been braced with brush and hidden stakes since moonrise. Planning, not chance, narrows the animal's path. Back at the stones, the young learn the shape of survival. A girl child presses damp leaves into a spiral shell to carry water from a seep. A boy watches an elder grind red ochre and ash, smearing paste along a healed gash that could have ended him. A wounded hunter lies on a mat of grass, arm splinted with bark strips and bound with twisted fibers, the fracture cooled by poultices of crushed astringent roots. When he shifts, another hand steadies the splint. No words. The language is touch and breath and gaze. The wind turns. High to the west, a rib of cloud darkens, spreading like ink in water. Storm-wet months come early. Lightning hunts as surely as lions. The wall will hold back the first rush, but only if the drains stay clear. 2 elders peel away from the hearth ember and kneel in the channels with branch brooms sweeping leaf mats from sluice mouths. A youth plunges into the trench, scraping silt with a shoulder blade snapped to a stick, turning mud to flow. Nearby, a ring of stones rises from the soil markers set along the sun's arc, aligned by mornings counted on fingers and shadows counted on forearms. When light slants just so, they will know when to pull tubers, when to set traps, when to burn grass, to call new green. A soft warning thrum runs through the herd of people. Vultures tilt in the distance. Not carrion scouts. Across a low ridge, dust lifts in 2 threads, not one. The hartebeest breaks into the gully exactly as planned. But a second presence rides the wind. Another band, lean and hollow-cheeked, drawn by the same water, the same game, the same smoke's promise. Rival hands have learned the same tricks. Rival eyes read the same ground. The leading male checks his flank, adjusting the kill to the wall's shadow instead of the open flat. The plan twists a new branch, take meat quickly, lash it to a dragging frame, and retreat under stone and fire while watchers line the parapet with sling stones and spear shafts. A signal climbs the air, 3 quick clacks of flint to flint picked up at the hearth, answered at the drains carried to the tuber field. Children gather tight. Fires breathe harder. The wall becomes a spine. Muscle and intention tighten together. The gully coughs its prize. The spear bites. The animal stumbles into netted brush. Hands pull feet, dig stone edges flash. Blood steams on cool morning air. The frame is thrust beneath haunch and shoulder. Vines cinch. Bodies lean and drag up toward the ring of stones. Over the ridge, the others appear at last, broad-chested silhouettes and lifted arms, not running, measuring. A lioness patient god of consequence watches all from grass-height yellow eyes, steady as the storm line. The meat is not yet cold when the first slingstone is loosed, not in anger but as warning. It arcs wide, cracking against the outer stone embankment, a thud of presence more than threat. The rival band halts. Their leader, gaunt and scarred from a healed jaw break, raises his hand, as not in surrender, but in reckoning. He sees the wall. He sees the smoke. He sees the children peering from behind stacked stones, and the rows of pointed branches staked into the earth, like the teeth of the land itself. This place is not wild. It is held. He gestures low and slow, and his own gather behind him. A younger female at his side grips a stone axe. A child peeks from her back sling. Hunger is not a question. Here, it is written in every bone that juts from their ribs. The matriarch of the wall, people steps forward. She is old, but not bent. Her face is lined not just by sun, but by memory. She kneels, gathers a clay bowl, and pours from a leaf-wrapped gourd the thick paste of boiled roots and marrow. She walks to the edge of the trench and places it down between the two worlds. A gift, an invitation, a test. For 3 breaths, nothing moves. Then the rival leader steps forward alone. He approaches the bowl, dips 2 fingers in tastes. His throat moves. Then slowly, he takes the bowl and retreats not back to the ridge, but only far enough to share. This is not alliance. It is not peace, but it is pause. That night, both bands camp within sight of one another. Fires burn on both sides of the trench. Atop the stone embankment, young males take turns watching while the wind shifts. In the distance, hyenas bark. At dawn, the wall people dig deeper, not to hide, but to hold. The wall itself becomes more than defense, it becomes definition. Around it, they plant new tubers, placing sharpened bones as markers. They press the earth down with woven mats, creating irrigation channels guided by rocks that sparkle when wet. On flat slabs, they etch not pictures but patterns. Sunrise shapes, river bends, claw marks mirrored by ochre lines. Their world begins to speak not in words but in records. And then comes the storm. The first bolt of fire splits the western tree. Thunder rolls across the plain like a beast with stone lungs. Rain falls not in drops, but in waves, erasing scent trails, softening earth to trap. The trench swells, then overflows. The wall groans. They do not run. They climb. They brace. One by one they haul baskets of stone to press against the weak point. Women lift children onto the central platform. Elders form a chain, passing logs hand to hand, wedging them beneath the sagging arch. But the wind fights harder. A crack, a long one, spiders through the lower right quadrant of the embankment. If it breaks, water will consume all the shelters, the food, the patterns drawn in dust, the idea that something could last. Then a cry. From the ridge, the rival band returns. No weapons, no fire, only bodies. They wade into the trench with the wall people. Shoulder to shoulder, they carry stones, lash vines, press bark into fissures. They do not speak. They do not pause. Together, they become a wall. And the wall holds. When the sky clears, all are soaked, scraped, blistered, but alive. At dusk, one of the younger rival women brings a child forward. She gestures to the food ring, asks not for meat, but for a place to stay. The matriarch nods. That night, a circle is drawn in the dirt, new larger, meant for more than one tribe. Meant for something no claw or flood can unmake. The first civilization was not born of stone nor fire. It was born of choice. Days turn to moons. The wall is no longer just protection. It becomes foundation. Shelters are built in a curve mirroring the arc of stars above. Tools are traded, sharpened, reinvented. Children from both bloodlines chase each other through the tuber fields. The air is filled not with war cries or silence, but with rhythm, pounding roots, cracking nuts, shaping clay. They bury their dead in patterns north to south, heads toward the rising sun. They leave offerings, feathers, carved bones, braided grasses. Memory becomes ceremony. Ceremony becomes time. And when a lion is found dead near the outer rim, not killed by human hand, but by age, they do not burn it. They raise stones in its shape. Even predators are honored. Even fear becomes part of the story. From the ridge, smoke signals rise another band, watching, waiting. But now, the wall people are ready. They do not raise their weapons. They raise their hands. And so the first civilization did not begin with conquest, but with cooperation. Not with kings or empires, but with a bowl of marrow and a shared wall. Where once they survived, now they belonged, forever carved into the memory of Earth.